Hi, my name is Josephine and these are my creatures. Happy 2023 to everyone! Last year was not a very productive year for my doll work. I had all sorts of hurdles, including a broken hard drive. So if you were wondering when you saw the title of this video, wait, Earth? I thought Venus was next. Well, she is, but I lost all the footage of creating her when my hard drive died. I don't have any updates on the situation, but I don't want to spoil it all if by some miracle I'm able to get my files back. So, in the meanwhile, here is my Earth goddess. Earth is the only planet in the solar system that has some green in it. So I wanted that to be the dominant color. I pulled out all my green and greenish dolls. I eliminated the Reboot Frankie because she is too cute even though I really like the body. I am just not vibing with Venus's face mold, so she is out too. I'm left with the green Creator Monster doll and Vandala doubloons. I want this character to be both fierce and sweet, so I chose Vandala in the end. Also, her wooden pirate leg gave me some cool ideas. I begin prepping her by cutting off all of her hair. I soften the head in boiling water, that's why I'm using a towel to protect my hands. Unfortunately, the neck peg broke, but in a weird way. The plastic of the neck kind of split at the seams and the neck peg slipped out. I had to use pliers and some force to get it out of the head. The head will not stay on without the peg, so we need to fix that later. But in the meanwhile, I remove the rest of the stubble now that I have access to the inside of her head. I think I found out why the neck broke. Her whole chin was filled with glue, so that's why it was kind of difficult to remove. 100% acetone and some Q-tips will take care of the factory face. I use paint on her sculpt to give me a guideline to follow later with her reroot. Also, it will make sure the reroot appears to be full even if I miss a spot. We have the head ready to go and my reroot tool and some hair. I will be using up my stash of nylon hair, so she will be getting a mix of colors. The colors are called Into the Forest, Leia and Doubloon. I start out with Doubloon. Having it as the bottom one will help create some separation from the rest of her hair and the future outfit. Next is the brown color to add more dimension. Then it's the dark green. I do adore this color, and I was so happy to get to use it again. I thought I would show you how I hold the head while I reroot. I have the head in my left hand and the reroot tool in my right. I pinch a small piece from the hank, loop it on my finger and scoop it on to the tool using the small space between the side of my fingernail. I stab the hair into the head and then open my left hand. This keeps the hair from tangling too much, and I don't always need to boil wash to tame the hair. I also feel it's a bit faster this way. Some glue is needed to secure the plugs from the inside. The hair needs protection from the spray sealant, so I just use a scrap piece of fabric and some pins. I want her to be more green, so I custom mix a green pastel to use on her face. I add some blush and contouring to her face before I do a second coat of MSC sealant. I work on layering the pastels, especially on her cheeks. I completely messed up this angle while filming, but I did her eye whites with my General's chalk pencil in white. Then I add some details with different pencils to her eyes and lips. I always try and list the materials I use in the description box down below. Some more details all around the face with a dark brown watercolor pencil. I use some green pencils to create highlights and add color to her lids. Then it's her eyebrows. I start out with a lighter brown pencil and do the details in dark brown. I hate it. I take it all off with a damp Q-tip. The second try is much better. I have been really loving doing stronger makeup on my dolls, so I add some shimmer with a color shifting paint in the color Burning Gold. I want all the dolls to look cohesive, so I add the symbol of Earth to her forehead and paint some pretty abstract decorations as well. I try using similar shapes and patterns to the other dolls. The white chalk pencil is great for first sketching things out before I commit to the design with paint. I want her face to look sensual and serene, like she is ancient but still kind in her heart. The lips get a little bit of detail with a brush. This pencil was perfect as a highlight color on her Shrek skin tone. It's funny how I ended up giving Earth an unnatural skin tone, while all the other ones this far have been human skin tones. She is a goddess, so obviously we need to add some sparkle to her skin. The sunset gold, even though a pretty color, was not the right choice. It created a weird dark cast on her face, and because I didn't seal her right before this step, I couldn't undo my work. I do end up adding a couple more layers of green pastel and gold PearlEx powder, so it's not too noticeable. I always dread adding the irises and pupils because usually I'm really happy with the face up until this point, and then it just goes wrong. I decided to do a similar eye to the moon and sun goddess where the pupil is actually white. I contemplated making the eyes blue like the oceans on Earth, but I can't even remember if I have done a green-eyed doll in the past. It's weird because green eyes are my favorite. And I do know I have done several with blue eyes. Some black PanPastel to shape the eyes, and then I can do the lashes. The bottom ones are quite easy, but when I did the top ones, I did have a little bit of a freak out that I had just ruined everything. It looked so bad. I wanted lashes to point downwards for a sensual look, but after adding some stronger lines with a brush, I really love the effect I was able to create. The catch lights finish off the face. I seal her with MSC and then add some Tamiya gloss glaze to her lips and eyes. I do avoid adding the gloss to the parts of the eye where the lashes are. I unwrap her from her hair burrito before I start working on her body. Her outfit is going to be very minimal, so we don't want any unsightly seams or molded on details like underwear or factory serial numbers. The sculpting on Vandalla's wooden leg is very detailed and pretty, but it will not go with my design. So my Dremel tool will make quick work removing it. Sanding plastic can cause it to melt and leave this rough texture behind. So I have some work for my craft knife. I thought adding a layer of gesso would improve the adhesion of the future layers, but in hindsight it was not needed. The most special thing about Earth is that it's the only planet that has life. So I wanted my Earth goddess to be like the mother figures from the Stone Age. Here is a picture of what I'm talking about. So in preparation, I'm gonna widen the hip joint. Because Earth's most defining feature is life, I decided to make my doll pregnant. I do hope it's not too weird. I did want her to be fully pregnant and not just chubby. I really do like how her tummy turned out. It's just the right size and not too big, which is what I wanted. I was also inspired by the many pregnant looks of Rihanna. She is just so pretty with her belly. To save on clay, I bulk out the shapes first with hot glue. I then cover everything in Magic Sculpt. I first had an idea to make the sizes of the dolls correlate with the planet's size in relation to each other. Like Jupiter would be the tallest and the largest doll, but I kind of messed up by making Mercury too big. And I got carried away sculpting this doll, so technically she is too big because Venus, Earth and Mars should be a similar size. No matter how much you plan ahead, sometimes art just takes you down a different path. I use water and my silicone tools to smooth out the clay. You can sand the clay once it's dry, but it is best to try and get it as smooth as you can while it's still malleable. I made the thighs a lot chunkier and it just looked odd, so I decided to protect the joint with some cling film and sculpt her butt and hips bigger as well. I also added some clay to the arms to balance out the lower body. Then it was the tedious task of shaving off the bumps and sanding away all the imperfections in my sculpting. To fill in the small divots on the body, I used drywall spackle. It has worked really well in the past, but in hindsight I maybe should have opted out from using it. But that's a note for next time. Then it was more sanding. Let's work on her leg for a change. I wanted to use Vandala because her wooden leg gave me an idea to turn it into a stone leg for my character. Very earthy indeed, if you ask me. So to create the stone texture, I thought I could use Magic Sculpt. I have made some good wood texture out of it in the past. I have seen a lot of miniature and diorama builders use tinfoil in their videos to create a rocky texture. So I thought I could give it a go. I liked it, but I needed something more rocky and spiky. So I made some rocks out of craft foam just by cutting random pieces with my scissors, and then gluing them all over the leg in clusters. I have to admit that when I started this leg, I did not have high hopes for it. But once it was painted, it really started to come together. And spoilers, this leg might be my favorite thing about the doll. After the base coat of a dark grey, I dry brushed the whole leg to make the details pop. I then added a layer of silver paint just as highlights on the stone. I think it makes the leg look like raw ore dug out from the earth. Ore is also used as the raw material for many of our modern day electronics. I wanted to add a real stone to the heel of the leg shoe thing, so I used a pin as a base. I actually had to heat it up before I could get it through the plastic. A glue blob will keep the stone from sliding down. I got carried away by the silver paint, so I toned it down with a dark wash. I dab off the excess. Then I sealed the leg with matte varnish. I did a tiny bit of the silver paint on top of the matte varnish to keep some of that metallic shine vibrant. Let's fix this broken neck, shall we? I will be using a small piece of very strong wire. I drill a hole through the neck for the wire. I make sure to catch the loop of the neck peg with the wire before I fill in the holes and reinforce the cracked sides with Magic Sculpt. I shorten the neck peg to make it easier to place the head back on it. And finally, I can color the body. I really don't like using paint, so this time I thought I could do the color change the same way as on the face using pastels and MSC. Now you might know why I had regrets about the spackle. Because it's white, it shows through the sealant and pastel because they are a little bit transparent. This trick works great with paint because it's opaque. I had to do, I think, 4 layers to get an okay result. I disguise some of the more noticeable imperfections as moles. No one needs to know, right? I could not resist giving her some belly paint, so I made up a design that could correlate with the one already painted on her forehead. I add some sparkle to her body as well and seal her to lock it in place. You really have to be generous with it because the sealant does dull it down. See? I do 2 more coats of pastel and PearlEx powder, but I only filmed one because it was getting a bit boring. I then do a coat of matte varnish to protect my work. And now her body is done. I want her to be covered with vines, so I mix some glue and acrylic paint and dip some yarn into it. I then wrap it around her leg, making it look like the rock that is her heel is held in place by them. To make her look like the ethereal goddess of the earth that she is, I will add these tiny flowers all over her. They will also implement the orange accent color of her face to the rest of the design. I have this metal earring that I think could look cool as a corset top. I first had an idea of giving her a cape, but I decided to go with this one instead. I cut up the earring to get it to mold against her body. I do love the gold, but I think silver would go better with the color of her leg and give off a more man-made feel to the piece. She needs something more to cover up than a top with literal holes in it. I have used this same fabric on my forest spirit doll many years ago. There is a video of fixing her broken neck, and I also updated her face a bit. I will link it for you in case you are curious. I really do like this fabric, but it's a nightmare to work with because it frays like crazy and it's very slippery. I think it's made out of silk because you can't burn the edges like you can with regular synthetic chiffon. I created a flowy empire waist dress that closes at the front so that you can still see her belly. I ended up adding a wider ribbon and doubling it to make sure it would stay where I wanted it. The metal corset reminded me of a garden fence, so I added some vines and flowers to it as well. I made a bunch of small leaves to add here and there where I thought they would look nice. After adding the vines, the overall outfit looked too busy, so I added a solid color fabric to make the corset stand out from the multicolored dress underneath. To keep the waist snatched, I added a drawstring to the corset as well. To cover her up at the bottom, I made a quick pattern using masking tape and then some paper. I cut it out of this silver fabric to connect to the corset and her leg and make her look a little sci-fi. I sew up the panties and glue down all the seam allowances for a smooth fit. I made some minor tweaks to the fit and added this leftover piece of the earring to further tie in the two pieces of her outfit. I added some armbands with a silver fabric to make her look more regal and tie in the material of the panties. She is a goddess, so obviously she needs a headdress. So I went for a scavenger hunt. Here is my hoard of broken and unwanted jewelry that I think might work. I like the silver of this bracelet. There is something sci-fi about it as well. I tinkered with the pieces until I had something I was happy about. It's kept on her head with 2 pins. I knew I wanted to style her hair somehow, but I didn't know what I wanted, so that's why I made the headpiece first. I thought some curls could look nice. I curl her hair with straws and secure them with paper-covered wire and pins. I then boil wash the hair. I thought while I have the hot water out, I could warm up her head as well to make it easier to put back on. It was still a little bit of a struggle, but nothing broke again, luckily. To add something to her arms, I decided to go all out with the vines and wrap the rest of them up her arm and neck. I decorate the vines with flowers and leaves. I made some rings and bangles out of silver jump rings. I painted her nails and now she is done. I added the blue to her nails because I could not figure out where else to put it. I had this one blue bead that was really pretty, but no place to put it. But Neptune and Uranus are going to be blue, so I will find a use for it. You can tell me in the comments if you have any ideas for future dolls in the Celestial series, or which one you are the most excited for. Mars will be next in the series as it comes after Earth. I made some small tweaks to her off camera, but overall I am super happy about how she came together. You can tell me in the comments what is your favorite part about her. Overall, I am super happy about how she came together. I think she is a really nice addition to the collection already. You can tell me in the comments what is your favorite part about her. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't done that already, like this video and leave a comment. I would love to know what you think of my Earth Goddess. Until next time, bye!